guys, Rhonda Draculis here, RK3 Designs, and I am super excited today. I was a faux painter for years before I started with the epoxy, and Jennifer Ferguson with Artistic Painting Studios is a really good friend of mine, and she has some fabulous products, and one of her products that she does are foils. And foils are big in the faux finishing industry, furniture and stuff like that. So I thought, well, I really want to incorporate them into my epoxy designs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys how to take this really cool pattern that's on a foil and transfer it to our board, and then we're going to do some cool effects over the top of that with the epoxy. So the first step we need to do to get the foil onto the board is we have to apply a adhesive, and the adhesive that I use is by Jennifer Ferguson. She actually developed the product, and it's her Artsyville line, and you can find all of this information on the show notes. There'll be links and everything to her website so that you can get these products. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off. I've primed my board, and today I'm using MDF, 1/2 inch MDF, and I've already prepped it. I've done my corners, and I've just put a black paint down because I kind of want it to blend in with the black that's kind of in the background of the foil. So I've done that. I've prepped my board for that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lay down a thin layer of the adhesive. And it almost reminds me of when you were in school and you were playing with Elmer's glue, kind of that consistency. But everywhere that you put the adhesive is where the foils are going to transfer to. So if you put 100% coverage of the adhesive on your board, which is what I'm going to do today because I do want 100% coverage, then when we go to our next step, and I'll show you how to take that foil off and transfer it onto the board, you'll get 100% coverage. Now, say you wanted to do a finish where you just really didn't want 100% coverage, you just wanted a little bit of coverage with your foils. You can actually do a process where you just kind of take your glue, and you can see I just very lightly applied the adhesive. So depending on what look you're going for will depend on how much of the actual adhesive you'll put down. Okay, so I've achieved 100% coverage on my board now, and we're going to let this set up about 45 minutes is about what it takes for it to set up to what we call a tact. So I'll be back as soon as this is set up, and we'll continue to the next step. I'm going to show y'all one more really cool thing that you can do with your foils. I like to take things I have around the house or items maybe that I find on clearance somewhere and just doll them up and then turn them into a wow factor. I got this simple little tray from Hobby Lobby. I believe it was on discount, and it was, I don't know, 75% off because it had some messed up facing on it and stuff. So all I did was I sanded it down, and I just put the Behr paint and primer in black, in Broadway actually, and I just painted over that and prepped it just like I would prep a sample board. And I'm gonna put the foils on this, and you'll be really surprised how really cool this looks. So just like the board before, I'm just gonna lay down my adhesive, but this time I'm gonna be really careful because I don't wanna get it on the sides. I want to just have this go on the bottom. So I'm just kind of very carefully getting it up in the sides. Now I also want this to kind of have a rustic, worn look. So on my sides, I'm gonna actually not put it 100% coverage. I'm almost gonna do like a skip brush here so that on the sides, as it goes up underneath the foil, you'll see it's not gonna have 100% adhesion, and it'll almost make it look like it's almost worn. So as I get closer to the edges, I'm just gonna kind of put it in there a little bit. Not 100% coverage. So we just kind of get a really cool effect. And then I'll just kind of bring it out in the middle. Okay, and this is all water-based. So if you get it on anything, all you have to do is just wash it with water. It's almost like Elmer's glue. It even kind of smells like Elmer's glue. So, okay, so this one's done. And what I'll do now is I'll let this dry to a tact, and then we will apply the foil. Our adhesive has now dried to a soft or a hard tact, actually. And what that means is I can now touch this and it pops. It almost has a popping sound. What I really like about Jennifer's product is so many adhesives on the market, you have a window of when you can actually use the product, meaning you could put the adhesive down and then you have a window before it actually will get too dry to use. With the adhesive that Jennifer from Artistic Painting Studio has developed, it will never dry beyond where it is right now. So if you do put your adhesive down and you know you're not going to get to it for a little while, put it somewhere where, you know, hair and dust and little rodents, I guess, can go across it, because it is very, very sticky. So here we are, ready to go. And our first foil I'm going to use is, oh my gosh, this is a beautiful foil. I forget the name of it, but she's got so many foils on her website. So what this is this is actually a pattern that's been put on a very, very thin sheet of plastic. We're gonna take this pattern and we're going to transfer it to the board. So when we transfer it, a lot of times we think we want to go face down because obviously that's where the pattern is, but we want to do the opposite. We want to put the dull side down. So when we pull this off, the pattern is showing up. So I like to crunch it up a little bit. That helps me with control. So now it's going to lay out a little flatter, but also it gives some interest when you lay it down. So you have one shot at this. So when you lay it down, you want to make sure it's going to go where you want it. And it doesn't matter if it doesn't cover up everywhere, because I can come back and add too. So this is where I'm going to lay it down first, and I'm going to take a soft terry rag and I'm going to just lightly apply it. So wherever I have adhesive, it's going to stick. Now I can check it and see what it looks like. I'll check this corner. And you can see that it's starting to come off here. And I may be happy with that amount of transfer and be fine with it. If you're going for something that you want to look vintage and you don't want 100% coverage, you could sure enough stop right there. But I want to have 100% coverage, so I'm getting my little scrub brush and I'm going to go ahead and scrub and get that pattern really down on that board. What I don't want to do, I don't want to do circles, because whatever I do on top of this plastic is going to go down into my pattern. So if I go back and forth this way and then this way in a circle, when I pull that foil off, you're going to see that design in the foil, and you don't want that. So I'm just going to go back and forth, address my edges, and then check it again. Oh wow, cool. All right, Now, if you can see, everywhere that adhesive has touched, it's pulling off of the plastic. So literally, it's actually being transposed onto that board. I have a little bit left, and I have some area here that I want to go ahead and cover up. So I'm going to come back. I'm going to do my edges. And I have a little bit more I can play with. Now I want to be really careful not to hit hard lines with my foil, because what will happen is if I go to the very edge, I'll see a really hard line, and I don't want to do that. So I want to work up almost to that hard edge, but not quite. So everything looks good. Now, everywhere there is foil, it won't be tacky. But any place that the foil maybe didn't touch is going to be a little bit sticky. So if I were going to just leave this like it was, maybe this was the top of a piece of furniture or a door or a cabinet door or something, I would want to put some kind of sealer on this so that I would get rid of the tackiness of the adhesive. But we're going to go one step farther, and we're going to pour epoxy over it. So I'm not really worried about the stickiness. And there is not a reaction with the epoxy. I've done this several times and I've had zero reaction, so that's good. Okay, so that was our first board with our first pattern. Now we're going to come to my little tray. I've done the same thing. I've put the adhesive inside the tray, and on this one I'm going to do a really fun foil. So I'm going to crunch it up. Now this one I really want to crunch hard, because I'm not going to go for a 100% coverage on this one. I want it to look kind of old and vintage, because if you see the corners and the edges of this piece already, it already has maybe a worn effect on it. So I want to carry that through. And also, if you remember, when I put my glue down, I didn't put it super thick up into the edges so that it would just have a little bit of coverage there. So I've crunched it up. And I'm just going to lay it down. Now, I know that one piece wouldn't do this whole tray. Knowing that I'm going to have to piece two sheets together, this is where the hard edge really comes into play. Now, you could see I have a hard edge right here on my foil. So that's the edge I don't want to lay down, because then when I pull it up, you're going to see a edge, really hard line. So I'm going to take my rag and I'm going to go almost to the edge, not quite to the edge. And then I'm going to, oh yes. And I'm liking that. Now, on this piece, I don't want such a hard transfer. I actually want it to be probably 80% covered. So I'm not going to use my little scrub brush. I'm just going to use my terry cloth. Now, when I pull this off, you're going to see in the edges I was talking about how I didn't put a lot of glue, so you're not getting 100% coverage here in your corners. So you can see it almost looks worn, has a worn look to it. Now I still have a whole area right here that I haven't addressed. I could use this, but because I'm using my pattern this way, I really don't have that much to work with. So I'll save this for a small project. And I'll come over to my big sheet again. I'm going to turn my tray around. crunch this up good. All right, I'm gonna do the same thing. Lay it down. So now, because I didn't leave a hard edge, when my two patterns come together, they're gonna seam together a lot more natural. It's not gonna look, I'm not trying to really get my patterns to line up exactly. This is such a busy pattern that you won't be able to really tell that they're not lined up exactly. But because I left that soft edge on there, you won't notice it. All right. So you can see, because I left a soft edge, you can't tell where I put my two pieces together. So this is cool. I love this. It has that worn look. And when we put our epoxy over this, guys, this is just going to just be incredible. Okay, we are back. So I've mixed up epoxy, Stone Coat Countertop epoxy, and we're gonna do two finishes with the same pour. So because both of these finishes have gold and silver in them, I'm gonna add a little pop to them, and I'm gonna put a little bit of the diamond dust and the gold dust. So, and I'm gonna put ever so little, because I just want this to be a hint. I don't want it to be what your eye catches first. I just want that to kind of be in there to give a little bit of added interest. So just gonna put a little bit, especially of the gold. That'll really overpower quickly. Oh wow, yeah. I'm gonna put, oh my gosh, this is gorgeous. I really wish that y'all could really see this in real life, because no amount of video can really show you how nice this is. So at this point, you can take a trowel, and if you do use a trowel over your foils, you want to be very careful, because foils are delicate and you don't want to take that trowel and scratch it across the top. So you want to be very careful. I'm going to use my hands. One, because I don't want to scratch it. Two, because it's such a small area, I'm not going to dirty up my trowel or my chop brush. So I'm just going to take it. Wow, really pretty. And I'm going to get my edges. All right, man, this just brings this foil to a whole new level. And I really want to make sure that all my edges are covered for two reasons. If there's any adhesive left that weren't covered with the foil, I want to make sure that the epoxy gets on there so that we don't have any sticky spots. Now I'm going to do something I'm not done yet with this finish. I'm going to add a little bit of mica spray that's mixed with the mica powders mixed with the alcohol, because I really want to get kind of a 3D look on here. So I'm going to go grab, probably going to use a gold on here. So I'm going to grab that real quick. Okay, I have gold mica mixed with 91% alcohol, and I have it in two different types of bottles. I have it in a small mist, and I have it in a larger mist. And so I think I'm gonna start off. I think I'm gonna start off with my small mist. Like I said, I'm not done this, and I'm just gonna hit it just a hair. And all that's really doing is just kind of giving it a mist. I want to go a little bolder. So I'm going to actually come in here and hit it with a bit of a bigger spray. Now, I don't want it big, huge drops, but I want to have some kind of, oh wow, yeah, so that's very pretty. Now because of the lighting, you really can't see, but it's just, I really wish I could get you to be able to see what this looks like. Because it's just when you hit it at a right angle, you can really kind of see that gold. But because my background is so wild and there's so much contrast in there, you don't really see a lot of it. I'm gonna hit it with my torch. Now I just sprayed alcohol on here, so I know that if I really go in here hard with my torch, I'm gonna catch it on fire. So I'm gonna let that off gas a little bit, and then I'm gonna hit it to pop those bubbles. Now, when you use alcohol, alcohol can cause surface tension. So all you have to do is come back in here, kind of break your surface tension a little bit. This is incredible. Wow, I really like this. I could so see this in a powder room on the vanity where you just want to walk in and see that wow. I could even see it on some shower wall panels. This would be really cool. We're actually doing a shower wall panel where we're using the leopard, and you'll definitely see that in a video. It's so simple to do, and you have this wow factor, and you really haven't put that much skill level as far as having to make designs and everything. So this is a very quick, obviously it's very recreatable, and fun. This is a lot of fun. So now we're back, and I'm gonna take the rest of the epoxy that I mixed up that has the mica powders in it, gold and silver. And I'm just gonna dump that in there. And once again, I'm not gonna take the trowel to it because I don't wanna scratch the finish. And also this has got some really weird corners and curves that I was gonna have to probably use my hands anyway to get them in there. Now, one thing that you could do is after I do this one coat of epoxy, I could stop there, and then that would be great. Or if you wanted to go a step farther and you say you wanted to give this as a gift, you can now, if you have a Cricut or a silhouette, come in here with put an initial or put a saying or a quote or something, and then you could put that down once this epoxy has dried. Put that down and then come over with a flood coat, and man, that, you talk about a very, very custom gift that you could do. All right, so now I'm just gonna heat up my epoxy pretty good at this point, so I can now tilt it and get it in all the little nooks and crannies. I really want to get it into all those corners. That way if they do use it as a serving tray and they spill something, it's all going to be covered with the epoxy on the bottom, so therefore it's all going to be sealed. Missing this one little corner over here. This is done. Wow, what a easy gift. And like I said, I got this thing at Hobby Lobby for next to nothing because it had some damage on the bottom, and now this is a really cool little tray that I'm actually going to donate for a little silent auction for a benefit. So the neat thing about this is now you have a serving tray that's heat resistant. You could actually put something hot. Your epoxy is good for 425 degrees and heat resistant. So, I mean, I could easily sit down something hot and serve it, hot coffee or something like that, and not worry about messing up the surface. Okay, so that was a fun project. I appreciate you guys tuning in. And if you like what you see, if you'll give me a thumbs up, if you'll subscribe to our channel and hit the little bell so that you will be notified on our updates. All right, thank you.